Good morning, class. I thought I'd give a brief little lecture video over the research paper proposal that will be coming up after the midterm. Um, this particular assignment will be due on the 29th of October, which is a Sunday. Um, so, what you're going to have here in a couple weeks is that I'm going to provide you with some research paper topics. And this is generally going to be your essay 5. So this is going to be sort of the last essay um, that we have to do for this particular semester. And it involves a couple components before you actually turn in your final draft, which that would be much later um, after Thanksgiving, right before we do end our semester. Um, before the second week of December. So you're going to have some time to really work on this. You're going to need some time to work on it because you're going to have to eventually go to the library, whether it's the college library, high school library, public library, all libraries, however you want to phrase that, to get the sources that you're going to need to help you write this particular paper. So the first two sort of components that go with the research paper project, the first one is going to be the actual research paper proposal. So after you actually pick a topic, and again, within the next week or two, you're going to start seeing a list of research paper topics in your weekly folder. You want to go ahead and start thinking about which ones that, sort of pique your interest. I would definitely go ahead and choose one as it gets closer to the 29th of October. I wouldn't wait until the last minute to try to do all this stuff, just because, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure outside of young children and kids like I do, you have Halloween. Within, less than a month, you got Thanksgiving after that. And then within less than a month of Thanksgiving, you got Christmas. And then we go into the new year. So it starts to become kind of a chaotic and crazy event, and especially when you add work and your other classes involved. So again, it's better to work smarter rather than harder. So if you start early on this particular project as you go through each week, it should be less stressful as you get to the first week of December when this thing is going to be due. Um, so the proposal is going to be the first sort of component of it. After that, you're going to have a series of 3 weeks where you're going to be working with your six sources, scholarly sources for your particular research paper. You're going to start to highlight them, read them, take notes so you can paraphrase, summarize, and take direct quotes from them to sort of back up your thesis statements and your major points and claims throughout your actual research paper. When you start rough drafting that and transforming that rough draft into a final draft, that particular component is called the annotated bibliography. Probably the proposal should be really one of the easier writing assignments the whole semester. And then we go sort of back to back with the annotated bib, which seems to be, I wouldn't say necessarily the hardest, but it is kind of challenging, especially if you have never written one before. Most high school English classes never really get into annotated bibs. I remember I didn't actually get into annotated bibs until I was really about a sophomore or junior at the college level. So I'm sure there's not too much has changed. Maybe in AP classes you uh, will get into annotated bibliographies a little bit more. I hope. I hope high school English has sort of changed a little bit since I've ventured through those 4 years. But it's been kind of doubtful, especially from the McIntosh, Glenn Academy, Brunswick High, Camden County point of view of things. I don't know how Jessup and Waycross. Maybe y'all get into that. I'm not sure. If you're up in Lanier Tech with my eCampus class, I mean, you're around the Atlanta area, you may get into it a little bit more up there in those high schools. Again, I'm not sure. But I will give you all the tools that you would need. I'll give you a template. If you sort of follow the template, not only for the annotated bibs, for the research paper, for the proposal, which I'm fixing to talk about, you should be on your way to your A. Now, if you do something kind of different, I can't guarantee that you're going to get that 90 or higher on it, just because I have it sort of a template or a formula in place that over the years, if students have used it and do use it, they generally get the higher grades, not only on these particular assignments, but usually in the class, because really this last 7 weeks or so after the midterm is when the grades start to weigh a little bit more, because we are getting into the research aspect of the course. So again, you can send me drafts of your proposal as you start to draft it. You can send me drafts of your annotated bib once you start drafting them. The same thing with the research paper. You can send me drafts. If you are a Coastal Pines student, you have a service called tutor.com. I would use both. I would use tutor.com, and then I would use me. If you can find folks outside that pretty good with English and writing papers and stuff, by all means, use them. I mean, the more sets of eyes that look at your work, generally the better the work is, especially if you have time to let folks look at it. Now, waiting to the last minute to let me, somebody else, or tutor.com look at it, this thing is due on a Sunday, and, Sunday by 11:59 on the 29th, you start sending stuff out at, 7, 8 o'clock at night on the 29th, it's kind of hard to get really constructive feedback. So be mindful of that, because you're going to have a little bit of time. And really, when I look here, I'm going to pull up sort of the assignment sheet. You will see this in your weekly folder in the weeks to come as well. But really what I want you to do is answer these 5 questions. And I sort of give you a model example from a student that made a 90 or higher on it. So if you sort of follow that template and look what this particular student did, even though your topic's going to be different than theirs, it's still sort of the same format that I'm looking for. They answered the 5 questions to the best of the ability of what they had. It should be, check your spell check and grammar. Now, see, that's what a lot of folks are losing some points on with these previous essays. Remember, Microsoft Word, if you're using Word, has an editor built in. It should check your spelling and your grammar. You may have to go back up into the options and click everything that needs to be checked. But, I mean, that will at least a good bit of your surface errors where I'm taking points off. You should be able to correct your own spelling with spell check. Obviously, you've got, Google. You can always look at, online dictionaries and thesauruses to find different words and different spellings. You have a grammar check built in. It's not necessarily the best, but it's better than nothing. And it generally does catch a good bit. You do have some of these other free grammar checkers that are a little bit better, like Grammarly and a couple other things online. Utilize those things. If it will help you get your grade to improve, then by all means, I would use Editor, I'd use Grammarly, I would use whatever else I could get that was free if you want to go that route. Now, keep in mind, some of these things that are free, they don't give you the full thing. I mean, Grammarly says it's free, but there's also there's one that you pay for to give you more, that it will check more. So sort of keep that in mind. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's going to be the best, but it's better than nothing. It's better than not checking it, because I've had students, it seems like they're either just writing these essays a couple hours before they're due, because it's obvious with all the spelling mistakes and stuff. They're just not running it through spell check or grammar check. And half of the grade right there is just being lazy and being careless and not actually having pride in your own work. So, I mean, you can eliminate a lot of those points just by doing that. Just by turning it into tutor.com or letting me see a draft. Really, that's how you become a better writer, is through the drafting process. All right, so let me see this. Let me share my screen with you so I can show you what I mean. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit. And as you can tell here, I didn't want to do that. Okay, let's see. So basically, again, this proposal is going to be on a research paper topic that you chose, right? You should have, when you get to this particular part of the course, you should already have a research paper topic in mind. Again, I'm going to provide you with those list of topics probably a week or so before this is due. Really, this assignment shouldn't take up too much of your time, honestly, if you have a topic in mind. Now, it's going to drive you nuts. It will be sort of time consuming if you wait till the last minute, if you're sort of wavering between topics. So that's why I would say go ahead and have a research paper topic in mind that you can kind of pick early, so you can go ahead and start brainstorming and answering some of these questions. Again, once the 29th has passed, whatever research paper topic you decided to choose on and write about on the proposal, you need to sort of be married to that until the very end, because the problem with the flip-flop, I'm going to give you time to flip-flop back between topics before the 29th. But after the 29th, whatever you choose, you really need to sort of be, I guess, engaged to that with that topic, married to that topic, because the problem about flip-flopping, let's say you wrote your paper, or you picked a topic to write the proposal on to get a decent grade, and then about 2 or 3 weeks in, when you start doing the annotated bib, you start to realize, oh, I can't really find a lot of sources here, so I want to switch my topic. By then, you already did a lot of work that's unnecessary, for one. And two, your proposal is not really going to match up with your annotated bib with the actual research paper. So you would have to go back and actually redo the proposal to give me a new one to sort of fit your new topic, and then sort of rush to get the annotated bibs done before Thanksgiving. So again, I wouldn't be divorcing my topic. I wouldn't be flip-flopping much after the 29th. So by the time you turn in your proposal, that's your topic. So if you look here at the guidelines, it needs to be MLA 9 double space, type in Times New Roman 12. Some of y'all, I guess, I don't know if y'all watched that video I sent out about the MLA 9 essay format. I sent it out the first 2 weeks, and then I sent it out recently within the last couple weeks. But folks, besides the spell check and the grammar issues, some folks are still having issues with the basic essay format, where you're losing points too. So all these points that you're sort of losing should really be easy give me points. So if you need to go back and look at, MLA 9 videos, essay formats, you can find tons of them on YouTube. Do your grade a service. If you don't like the grade that you're getting because you're losing points for spell check and grammar check issues, you need to do that. If you're having issues with the format, you need to go back to YouTube or somewhere and look how to basically put that into the proper essay form. Because again, you're losing the same points from essay 1 to essay 2 to essay 3, and your grade's never going to get any better because you're making the same mistakes, week after week. Again, that's where tutor.com and myself will come into play if you send drafts. I hope that when you're doing the peer reviews, and we're going to sort of not have as many peer reviews moving forward, we'll probably have one more as it gets closer to when the research paper is due. And I'm hoping that some of these folks or your classmates are picking out when they're downloading your paper and reading and realizing, hey, the format's not right. They should be commenting on that. Now, some of them have and some of them haven't. So again, remember, the peer review should be a really sort of easy 100 for everybody as well. But like I said in that one email, some folks, I guess, just don't like free stuff. They don't like to have the freebies. So that's why, again, if your grade is sort of suffering now too, some of y'all have not been turning in the peer reviews. And at this point, once a peer review is done, we really can't go back and redo those. Simply put, because the essays usually due within that day or later that day of that particular peer review. So it doesn't really make any sense to, let's say the peer review is due on a Thursday. I usually reopen it after I grade and make sure everybody's turning in right the first time. And then I give those that have, for whatever reason, forgot, didn't turn it in, a couple more days for half credit or so to get something in. But generally the essay would be due that following Sunday, or that Sunday coming up. So when I have folks come on Monday or Tuesday after that particular final draft is already due, I'm going to turn in the peer review. What good is that going to do? The final draft was already due 24 hours before, and those that really needed the help already turned their paper in, so you're not really helping them, and they can't help you. So it's really kind of pointless. So you'd just be better not even turning in a peer review if you're going to turn it in 2 or 3 days late. I mean, honestly. All right. So looking at this proposal, the length, as you can tell when we look at the model here, generally I say as long as it needs to be. Most of these, when they're typed out, they're about, anywhere from a 1 to 2 page. So I would sort of kind of keep it in that frame of mind, that framework. I wouldn't try to, because you're going to be saying too much if you go beyond 2 pages, really. This is only a proposal. This is sort of, it's letting me know, hey, this person's basically taking it seriously. They sort of brainstormed on a research paper topic. They have a topic they like. They want to use it for the next, 6, 7 weeks after that. And it shows that you're actually being more of a participant. You're actively involved by your answers from these questions. So what I would suggest is, and this is where you would have a little bit of time to sort of volley or flip-flop back and forth between topics before the 29th. If you pick a topic and you can't answer, a good bit of these questions, then you need to find another topic and you need to find one that you can answer these questions kind of quickly because your time's going to be running out. So as you can tell here in the directions, it says after deciding on a research paper topic, which would be essay 5, answer the following 5 questions. At this point, a short paragraph for a question should work. Nothing too short, but nothing too long either. Each answer is worth 20 points. Please proofread and edit for spell because spelling and grammar check will count. So again, a good paragraph, as you can tell here, these paragraphs, and if you look in my little comment section, each paragraph is basically the answer to the question that it represents. So like paragraph 1 is the answer to question 1. Paragraph 2 is the answer to question 2. Paragraph 3 is the answer to question 3. So in a lot of ways, you got 5 paragraphs. So you're going to have about a 5-paragraph mini, I wouldn't necessarily call it essay, but you're going to have a 5-paragraph proposal here. No more, no less. That should be it. 5 paragraphs should give you the 1 to 2 pages that you need, or the 500 to 750 word count that you need. Again, you want to have your header. The only thing that's missing here that a lot of folks are missing is your last name and your page number. So like in this case for Marvin, it'd be Jones 1. And then when we get to the second page up here in the right-hand corner, it'd be Jones 2. Some of you are not even having that, where you're having the same Jones 1, Jones 1, Jones 1, and it's not changing on you. So make sure that you have that kind of fixed. So the questions are really straightforward. Again, once you have a research paper topic in mind and start doing a little bit of a preliminary research on your topic, a Google search at first, you should be able to answer these questions. So like number 1, what is your thesis or research question? The thing about your topic you want to find out. Your topic must be opinionated and well phrased and formulated, rather than a petty observation about your topic. So, I mean, really, once you choose a research paper topic, start thinking about what your thesis statement is going to be. What are you trying to prove or disprove in this particular paper? Number 2, how do you plan to support this thesis or research question? So I sort of give you a hint to kind of help you with this. This question does not really focus on the sources you will use as much, but it is a question of the techniques, types of paragraphs, style you plan on employing. It is like an analysis of your analytical style. You can briefly outline your paper here if you like, if you're that far ahead. So when I'm looking at more or less, are you going to do a research paper that is a compare and contrast, a cause and effect, a persuasion paper, an argumentative paper, that type deal? That's what I'm looking at. You're not going to give me a narrative research paper. We already did a narrative. You're not going to give me a descriptive paper. We already did a description. You're not going to give me a process analysis research paper. We just did that. Excuse me. And you're not going to give me a definition research paper because that's what your essay for, your respondent's midterm essay is about. So think about whether you want to do, like I said, compare and contrast, cause and effect, argumentative, persuasive. There's a couple other ways we can, if you're having trouble with that, email me. We can do We can send emails back and forth to sort of brainstorm together and work something out based on your topic. We can do something via Teams if you're strictly online or not near the Camden campus, or if you do live locally in the Camden campus, if you want to meet in person, we can set up something there that we can brainstorm on a whiteboard or something in a classroom that you can sort of take with you, as far as snap a picture or take notes or whatever the case may be. Now, number 3 and 4, depending on how much research you're able to get done between the time that you really watch this video and pick a research paper topic and the 29th of October may be a little bit difficult to do, because it says, what 6 outside scholarly sources do you plan to use? Now, when it comes to the actual sources that you're going to use in your research paper and what you definitely are going to need to use for the next component of this, again, the annotated bibs, you're going to need 2 scholarly websites. You're going to need 2 scholarly journal articles, and you're going to need 2 scholarly books. Now, that could be e-journal articles, that could be e-books. They have to be academic and scholarly in nature, and the same thing with the websites. Wikipedia is not a scholarly website. There's information that you can kind of look at to help you start brainstorming on ideas. But the problem with Wikipedia is that anybody from a 3-year-old to a 93-year-old, if they know how to type and log into stuff, they can get in there and edit answers and stuff. They can edit paragraphs. So that's why you can't really use Wikipedia. The thing about Wikipedia that you can use, and as we get closer into the research aspect of the course, is if something is really written well, or it looks like it's really written well, you can scroll down all the way to the bottom and look and see what they have for notes and references. A lot of times those notes and references will take you to scholarly journal articles, books, and other websites. You can click on those and evaluate and read those and see if they will help you. But the actual web page of what you're looking at, you don't want to quote from that. The same thing with number 4, because again, probably by the time you get to the 29th, unless you're really on this, you're not going to have read through all 6 of your sources. So it says, what is the best source at this stage? What makes it the best source? Again, going back to this hint for number 3, like I said, you don't have to have read all 6 of your sources by the time we get to the 29th, but I would say at least read 3 reliable sources by the time you submit this. This way, it gives me a chance to see where you're going with your research, if you're taking this seriously, if you're going to have any problems that we can go ahead and start ironing out, for the next 3 weeks, because you're going to need to have all 6 of these sources as we go through the month of November for the second component for the research paper, again, the annotated bib. And then you're definitely going to need to read and have all 6 sources, the quotes, and everything that you want to use out of those as we get later into November, so you can start rough drafting and then finalizing your research paper. And then, again, with number 4, what source do you think you might need? So as you can tell here, I give you a hint. I would try to find at least 3 reliable sources so you can have something in here. If you want to do sort of 1 scholarly journal article, 1 scholarly book, 1 scholarly website by the time the 29th comes, that means you just need to find 3 other ones in those same categories, and then your research will sort of be done, hopefully. That will work. You just you want to have something that you can show me that you have been thinking about your topic and about collecting and reading and analyzing some of the sources that you may need. And again, with the annotated bib, that's going to be due after the 29th, and we get more involved in that after the 29th of October. You want to pick 6 sources that's going to help you write this paper. Just don't randomly go and say, well, okay, I'm crunched for time. I'm just going to pick the first 2 I see on Google. I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to pick the first 2 I see on a database there. And then I'm going to get 2 books I see on the shelf. Sometimes the best research will be on page 6 or 7 of that Google search. Sometimes the best research when it comes to the library will be, on the other side of the library, the sixth or seventh book on the shelf. As it relates to journal articles and databases, it could be, again, the seventh or eighth page. You want to give yourself enough time to find the sources that will help you write this paper. Just picking the first two doesn't necessarily mean, yes, they could be relevant. They could be the latest, the ones that are, up to date, but they may not be the best. So you want to be careful of that. You want to be careful of time sources. Depending on what your topic's going to be, I wouldn't pick something that's going to be really, really old or I would try to keep it within maybe a 20-year gap or so, maybe 1980 until 2023. You might want to close that in a little bit, especially if you're doing something in the medical field or something that's constantly changing. You may want to shorten that year span a little bit, maybe to 10 years or 5 years, depending on what it is. So sort of keep that in mind. The last question, what is the whole point of this topic? So the hint here is, what motivated you to pursue the topic, the so-called so what question? Why do you care about this topic? Why should your readers care? Do not be fooled by how short this question is. It is of vital importance. So there's got to be a reason besides, hey, Mr. Wilson is wanting us to do a proposal and pick a research paper topic and write a research paper. I want to do, I want to get an A or a good grade on it. You got to move beyond that. If somebody picked this particular research paper up, say in January or February next year, halfway across the world, what would they learn from it? What knowledge would they get that they, didn't have before picking your particular paper up hypothetically and reading it? That's what you kind of have to think about. What's the bigger picture? Why should we care? Why should readers in general care about your particular topic and your particular research paper? And again, if you look here, this is the sample that a student did last October. They made an A on this particular proposal. They said, Marvin said this particular assignment was one of the easiest ones he did in the class. And he said it really started to move quickly once he did pick a topic and did sort of a preliminary research on it, going to the library, looking at the databases, going to the internet and Google and that type of stuff. He said it didn't take him that long once he was able to sit down and type it out. He said really the proofreading, the editing part was a little bit more of a time-consuming deal. So he had to set some time, aside for that because he had to work and he had other classes. But he said to get the information down, he said everything, went really well because of the way these questions were set up. And he had a similar template from a student I used a year prior to him that he followed, which, as you can tell here. And he said with that template and this visualization with this, he was able to get through this particular project without too many hiccups or headaches. So that's the proposal really in a nutshell. It should, again, just like Marvin said, this should be really a quick, I hope easier assignment up to this point, and it will sort of get you ready into the second stage of the actual project, which would be the annotated bibs again. As it gets closer to the first set of those annotated bibs being due, I will give another lecture video that sort of talks you through that. Again, if you follow the format and everything, send me drafts, send tutor.com drafts if you can. That will do your grade a great deal of service and hopefully increase them. Now, if you're part of my eCampus class, which is an online course that some Coastal Pine students and some Lanier Tech students take at the same time, I realized that tutor.com is not really going to be working on your particular platform because it is an eCampus. So for the Coastal Pine students, you should still have access to that. If you need information about how to do that, just email it to me. Just email me and I will try to assist you the best I can with that as it relates to your aspect of being in the eCampus. The Lanier Tech students, I don't think you have tutor.com, or if you do, you have a different way to get to it. So my best advice for you, if you want to have an outside free tutoring service, is to go to your campus and ask what do they use for tutoring services. Do they have anything that's online? I know you probably have tutors on campus. You're free to use them in person if you live closer to Lanier Tech. But there's got to be something that's equivalent to rtutor.com for you, and you would want to utilize that if possible. Um, all right. I hope everybody has a great midterm week, um, which is week 8. This is basically when I'm recording this. So if you do review this here in another week or two, it's probably going to be a little bit dated as it relates to the time. But the information is still good because it's going to be the stuff that we're going to be doing as we move ahead for the next 7 or 8 weeks. Remember, the college don't really have another break until Thanksgiving break. I know a lot of folks think that, we share the same holidays as public school, but we really don't. I know today being the 9th of October, um, Columbus Day, I know some of the TRF, which is some of the Navy students that I teach down here, they have it off. I know my 2 daughters are having what they they don't call it Columbus Day anymore, I guess, because they're afraid to offend somebody. Call it a fall break, because my wife, she also works at a high school, so they have a couple of days off. We don't at the college. We don't have a fall break really um, in the month of October. Our next holiday will start on November 21st, and that will last through Sunday, November 26th. So that's basically our Thanksgiving week. And then we come back about a week and a half, and then we have sort of a break, a winter break after final exams and final grades are turned in. And then we get geared up and ready for the spring semester, which, by the way, I will put that up here too. Let me show you that, especially for the Coastal Pond students. You should be getting some information from your advisor or whoever signed you up for this previous semester. Either a phone call, a text, an email, snail mail, if you still do the postal service. But I'm going to show you, and this is really, if you're a Lanier Tech student as it relates to eCampus, you probably have to go a different way. So this particular section of the video may not really pertain to you. So you can kind of stop there if you want, unless you just want to see what I'm doing. But if you look here, I'm basically at the main Coastal Pines page. I went to faculty and staff. This is probably the easiest way to go about it. If you go under to where it says Coastal Pines or CPTC links and go down to where it says schedule classes, click there. If you look here, we already have the spring semester. It does start on the 8th of January, so sort of keep that in mind. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and hit all campuses. These are all the campuses that we sort of cater to. And as you can tell, we do have quite a number of instructors already on there. The thing is, at this point, because it is the 9th of October, if I hit all, this is not a complete schedule by no means. So there's still going to be some classes added as we go through this month. There might be some classes sort of canceled just because of enrollment as we go through this month and next month. But if you sort of have a plan or know what you need to take, you might want to go ahead and kind of look on here to see the times, the dates, the instructor, that type deal. Again, there's going to be additional classes added. I'm hoping by the time November 1st comes, the schedule will be sort of completed. And if you haven't heard from your advisor yet, they may be sort of waiting until the schedule is finalized before they sort of send out any kind of information on that. But the thing about this is I would definitely get in touch with them to sign up for classes, I would probably do it before Thanksgiving break. But if you don't get a chance with that, I would do it before we go to winter break, because the thing is, that little week or two that we have off, sometimes your advisor or faculty member that helped you sign up for fall may be on their own break and won't be coming back until the week that we actually start spring. So that becomes kind of chaotic because they have a add and drop couple days there. The thing is, if you wait too late, you may have to pay additional fees to sort of get into the class. The other thing is the sort of pay attention to. I don't know if if you've been taught this or shown this. If you look, it's going to give you the days, the start times, the end times, the credit, the contact hours, and then max, and then enrolled. As you can tell, because there's nobody here, the enroll number is 0 pretty much for everybody. There might be a couple of people that have already signed up, but for the most part, looks like everybody's at 0 because, again, they haven't finalized. The max number means how many can actually be in that class. So most of them are at 25. You do have some that are at 10, 15, 12. The number differs between the course and the program of study, I guess. The problem is, once you reach that max, let's say this one of 25 for accounting class, you will be probably put on a waiting list. So let's say it has 26 and you want to get on there again, so now it's 27. So there's 2 people probably on the waiting list, which may or may not be able to get in depending on if somebody drops or doesn't show of the original 25. So that becomes an issue if you do sort of wait until later in the semester to try to schedule, get signed up for classes for the next semester. The other thing is, if the number of enrolled stays 0 for a period of time, they may cancel that class. And the problem about canceling classes is sort of it can be kind of twofold in a lot of ways, because you may need that class to graduate. And if they cancel it, if they don't offer it again, if it's sort of like a special class, they only offer once a year or whatever, you're going to have to wait a whole another year unless they can substitute something for you. And sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't. So you want to, that's another thing, that if you see a class that you definitely need, and it's one of those special classes that they only offer once in a while, I would go ahead and get my name into that particular class. So hopefully, if they start seeing people enrolled in it, more people will enroll and won't be canceled on you at the last minute. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing with that. So really, that's how the proposal is going to be. Again, like I said, send me your drafts, send me your questions. Let tutor.com help you if you can use tutor.com. If you have to go to an in-person tutoring, whether it's with me or somebody up in Lanier Tech, if you're the eCampus class, by all means do it. I mean, it's free. I mean, if you try to get a private tutor who really knows what they're doing, you're looking at $25 plus an hour, if not more. So if you don't want to pay, I would definitely utilize the free help that's available and the resources that not only Coastal Pines offers, but again, if you're an eCampus student, that Lanier Tech offers. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a good week 8, week 9, week 10, as we get later into the month of October. It's going to be hard to believe that November 1st is going to be right around the corner, and then we don't really have a full month of November. We've only had like maybe 3 weeks in November, and then maybe a week and a half in December, and then we're done. All right, that's enough for me. I hope everybody has a great week. See you soon.